less harmful kind. Because it's not sinful. It doesn't create havoc in society. But it's still attachment. So because of that attachment, they get problems. But this, the sages, the saintly persons are there. They come and instruct. You know, the householders lament, why do I have so many problems? Because you're attached. Oh. And you should break that attachment. Become free. Dedicate yourself completely to Krishna consciousness and become happy. See, attachment, whether sinful or under Vedic regulation, it never brings happiness. This is the point. This is the thing that two kinds of attachments have in common. That people are becoming attached because they think, I'll be happy by illicit sex or licit sex. They're thinking, this will make me happy, but it won't. It brings suffering. Illicit sex brings so much suffering. It condemns one. After this life, in this human body, and one is taken down to hell, and one gets a very hot lover, sex partner. Made of iron and heated red hot. And this you can embrace. And then after that sojourn in hell, then the unfortunate living entity is released into the lower species, and there can pursue sex life in so many abominable ways. Long, long, long time before coming back to the human form. Whereas illicit sex, it does not lead to a hellish reaction like that. But still it binds one to the bodily concept, which is full of suffering. So it must be broken ultimately.
Somebody may have good material qualities, but at the same time no taste for hearing and chanting. What is the destination for him? I mean, for example, Krishna consciousness movement, one may like some particular service, but at the same time one has no taste for the program and spiritual activities.
Yes, so then their activities can be engaged by those who are properly situated in Krishna consciousness. You know, there's I was speaking with Vishwadev Prabhu yesterday, so he was talking about some devotees who he says, in his terms, he says, they're there. In other words, they're part of the community of devotees, but they're not very strict in the regulations of devotional service. But they're part of the community, and they're doing something, making some contribution. So being part of the community means to accept superior direction. Direction of those who are more spiritually advanced. So those who are more spiritually advanced can help such a person engage himself in Krishna's service. So they have a good quality of being humble, submissive. See, this is the point again. They're not thinking themselves independent. They're not trying to assert themselves in some independent way. You can't tell me what to do. I understand better than you what I can do for you. So, such persons just fall down. But because they're honest, they're admitting, yes, I'm not very advanced, but I cannot do anything else except serve the devotees, so let me dwell somewhere, in some corner, where I can render some service. So actually their position is very auspicious. Now, of course, we are hoping that such persons after some time will also become purified by the service to the Vaishnavas and gradually develop a taste for hearing and chanting. Because this is really the secure position. When one becomes secure in one's spiritual practices, then we can say with certainty that this devotee is on his way back home, back to Godhead. But when one is not, then we cannot say for sure. It may be, because Krishna is very merciful. But the whole point, especially if one accepts spiritual master, then this means one is duty bound to become established in devotional service nicely. And one, this is another point, being honest. Srila Prabhupada said the initiation, it is a gentleman's agreement. So one should fully understand what it means to be initiated. Now you've agreed to your spiritual master that I will follow 4 negative principles, chant 60 rounds. So one should do that. One should think this over very carefully before entering into that agreement. Otherwise, one can make an offense to the spiritual master.
I've heard that the Shudras in the Varnashrama system, that they are not paid, they just get the leftovers from the higher castes. So, how is it in practical life, in modern times, when we engage, for example, Shudras in some service, we have to pay them, that they will not accept it, just to be like what we call Leibeigene, just to work and get something to eat.
Well, there are some persons like that. I mean, I think we were just talking about them. Persons who live in the company of devotees, but they're not very spiritually advanced. But they're very much attached, very much surrendered to serving the Vaishnavas. And they fully depend upon the mercy of the Vaishnavas. So, I suppose they could be called Shudras. And there are people who are less than Shudras. So in these less than Shudras, they're difficult to even engage nicely. When they want payment in return, then, Srila Prabhupada said, just like when workmen come to do some work in the temple, the only benefit they get from that work is the money that we pay them. Of course, we try to give them prasadam, then they get more benefit. But simply from the work, because they want payment, the only benefit they get is the money. Whereas someone who is volunteering his service, then he gets the benefit of serving the Vaishnavas, and through the Vaishnavas serving Krishna. That's eternal benefit.
And also one question about the Brahmins in the Vedic culture. It said that they are not, when they do something wrong, some crime, they are not punished in the same way as a Shudra, for example, because they are respected. But isn't it that when one has more knowledge about what he has to do and not to do, that he has more responsibility and has to be punished actually more severe?
Well, Brahmana, was never considered. Of course, we must say now, we're talking about earlier ages, not Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga now in India, Brahmins, they do something, they're punished just like everybody else. Because they're not really Brahmins anymore. They're just ordinary people. But in earlier ages, anyone who was a Brahmana, who was even born in a Brahmin family, even just to get that opportunity, he could not be an ordinary person. And also in the earlier ages, the Brahmanas educated their children properly, not like today. So these Brahmanas were qualified. Very highly, and it was the Vedic culture that was they respected the Brahmana community because of their good qualities. Now if some Brahmana goes wrong, then yes, he was not to be punished. He could be banished from the kingdom if he did something really bad. Of course, even under circumstances, a Kshatriya can kill a Brahmana, but only if the Brahmana resists the Kshatriya. If the Brahmana opposes, the Kshatriya comes to administer the punishment on the Brahmana. In other words, tell the Brahmana, now you leave my kingdom. And then the Brahmana would, by violence, oppose the Kshatriya. And the Kshatriya would kill the Brahmana. This is declared in the Mahabharata. This is why when Arjuna came to Draupadi's Swayamvar and he won the contest, then the Kshatriyas, they had become so attached to Draupadi that they wanted to just forcibly take her away. They were thinking that this Draupadi is a princess and this is a contest of arms. It should be just for Kshatriyas. Why Brahmanas are coming here? So they felt like this. So they thought, let us just take Draupadi. So in the beginning they didn't intend to do this by making violence against Arjuna, because Arjuna, he was dressed as if you don't know, he was dressed as a Brahmana. They thought he was a Brahmana. So they just wanted to take Draupadi. But then Arjuna, he started firing arrows. He was resisting them. So then they said, all right. So if he's going to fight, then we're going to fight. And there was a big battle. But the Kshatriyas were unsuccessful. So because of the qualities of a Brahmana, he should not be punished severely. Yes, he should know better. And if he has really misused his knowledge, then he will be severely punished. But not by the Kshatriyas, by Yamaraj. Yamaraj is the supreme punisher in this universe. So earthly Kshatriyas, they don't want to severely punish the Brahmanas because they feel the Brahmanas are superior to them. But after this lifetime, Lord Yamaraj will take care of it. Yes?
There's a question from Dr. Marcus. He asks, why do people make themselves dependent upon sense gratification and forget the liberation of the Supreme?
Why? Well, this is the age-old story of the world. This is the way things are. People are in Maya. Simple answer. Yes?
We were talking about the Yakshas. Why is it mentioned that Kubera is the chief of the Yakshas?
Yeah, Kubera is the treasurer of the demigod. He's called Yaksha Raj because he uses the Yakshas to guard his treasure. Keeps the treasure in the Himalayan mountains. And the Yakshas haunt that place, and anybody who goes there looking for that treasure, they will be killed or captured or deluded, misled by the Yakshas. So they're all surrendered to Kubera.
Is it like this because we're meant to understand that in the olden days they used to find goats and other things on the Himalayas? And normally when there is goats and other things, dwarfs and other entities like the ghosts and other beings like this. So can it be stated that the dwarfs are all among the Yaksha groups?
Yeah, well, there's Yakshas and there's Rakshashas and there's Pisachas and there's Bhutas and there's a whole menagerie of these sort of living entities who give trouble to human beings. So the dwarfs and whatever else, strange beings, they fall into these categories.
So does that mean because in other countries, in other mountains where there are jewels and treasures like golds and ornaments like this, there are also entities like that too. So does that mean it is only on the Himalaya mountains where various treasury is being guided there, or throughout the whole world? Because in some world places also, which is not in India or Himalayas, there are such things and there are other entities like this there. Sometimes they bewilder people when they go there to search for it.
Well, Srila Prabhupada once, I remember Srila Prabhupada once saying that the Himalayas extend over the whole world. So, that could be. There are enchanted treasures in other places which belong to the demigods. There are different classes of demigods too. Kuber is guarding the treasure of the great demigods like Lord Indra. But there are lesser demigods. For instance, Gandharvas. They're Upadevas. They're like semi-demigods. And they also have treasure. They're not so directly under the control of Lord Indra. They will have their own king. They have their own place where they dwell above the earth. So they have their special reserved areas on this planet where they come down to enjoy. And then they also keep treasure on earth. For a human being, a Gandharva is a demigod. If a human being sees a Gandharva, then he thinks this is a wonderful personality.
Is it true that a Kshatriya acting in Krishna consciousness only learn to kill and eat the meat of spiritual understanding and fight with his enemies with spiritual knowledge? Because when we're talking of Kshatriyas eating meat, but I think the Kshatriyas acting in Krishna consciousness are different from the Kshatriyas acting on the material platform.
Yeah, if a Kshatriya is he may become very dedicated to Vaishnava principles, and then he may give up meat eating entirely. But you just must understand, it's a Kshatriya's dharma. If he goes out hunting, he may eat meat and there's no sin. And among the Pandavas, Srila Prabhupada said that 4 Pandavas were vegetarian, but one, Bhima, he was not. So, there's no sin. So, there's no need for us to try to make, to try to understand this, make some mental adjustment, become so much concerned. Why these Kshatriyas ate meat? What? It just means that we are trying to understand their activities from our position, and that we should not do.
Yeah, what I want to understand is, although Kshatriyas eat meat, but the Kshatriya acting in Krishna consciousness, he eats the meat of spiritual understanding, and he tries to kill his enemies with spiritual knowledge. That is what I want to do.
But we're talking about Vedic Kshatriyas. I mean, this sounds, what you're saying sounds like more figurative. We can, like you said yesterday, the battle between the Krishna consciousness movement and the Asuric civilization. So this is more figuratively, and then we can say we're all soldiers in Lord Chaitanya's army and so on. So that's all very nice. But, from this we should not draw conclusions about the Vedic Kshatriyas. Yes?